Hello everyone, it's Wib, and today we are back on CounterSide. Today I wanted to talk about the units that would be good to invest for in the future, or that would just be good to save for, because on global I've kind of checked and there is already a pretty good amount of good units, but you'll see that some of them will get even better in the future. And you'll see that a lot of units are really important to save for because they have a really big importance in both PvP or PvE. And so today we'll start off right away with the 7th units in this list. I only made 7 units because I think I could put a lot more units, but let's just stay to 7. And we'll start off with Esterosa. So Esterosa, the reason why she is only 7 is because right now she isn't really good. She still performs well in both PvE and PvP as their normal form in global, but you will see that in future she will get an improvement, which if you go in the lab, it's called Rearmed. And Rearm, you can see I'm on CA by the way, if you wonder, but you can see some unit gets kinda like a refunds. This is Rearmed Esterosa, and you can see already Rearm adds something that no other unit have, which is a leader skill. It's kinda of a weird one because it's called leader skill, but like it does nothing for the team in this case. Because what does Esterosa skill is that basically she becomes like Veronica. She becomes immortal for a few seconds instead of dying. You can see it's very passive. Yeah, a skill from the past and a linear test. So yeah, she can't really die, and it's for how much second? 6, 7, I think. 7 seconds then. And you can see it increases attacks. And what does the Rearm also do is that usually most units have, or no, all units have 5 level of skill enhancements, but the Rearm unit have 10. But you can see that it costs a lot more for those training data thing, but yeah, it's not really a matter. You can see a ton of those. The really big cost is those you only get from basically feeding Esterosas. So yeah, it's really hard to obtain those. You can buy them in the shop, the golden sets shop. Yeah, here you can buy them here. So if I wanted to, I could buy a few of those and get my Esterosa to max skill training, but yeah, I'm just gonna wait till I get a new one. What will she become in the future for those interested? She will be a really annoying tank with a lot of barrier and true damage. So despite being a really good tank, she will also be a strong DPS as well. And she does really well in PvE and in PvP. So would really recommend investing in her. Not right now necessarily, that's why she's 7th in this list, but definitely in the future a good choice. And then we are gonna talk on the 6th place. So the only supporter on this list, which is Harim. He is already in the game in global. He has the banner right now, who I would really recommend if you could pull for her. She is basically one of the only supporter you would bring in PvP and in PvP right now. There is also a lot of very good supporter like Claudia, Evelyn, but Sky as well, but Sky is not in this list. And Harim is really good right now because it's global is kinda like having the old meta that CA had when it came up, because he does a lot of barrier and he has a lot of healing and support capability. He does pretty much everything you need from a support, which is attack buff, heal, and a barrier. So right now he's really good for that, but you'll see that in the future he might fall off from PvP, but he will definitely still be one of the most important healer in PvP for all stages. So I would really recommend if you could pull for her. And then for the 5th unit in this list, it's a unit that I sadly don't have. I pulled for it on a global. I've started an account on global to kind of follow what's happening in there, and I've pulled for it in global because it has a banner right now. I probably already went past it. No, not you. Where is she? Could just use this, and yeah, it is Sigma. So kinda like young Harim, she's really good right now because one unit that we'll talk about later isn't here on global, and she's really good in both PvP and PvE. In PvE, she's mainly used in raid bosses because you can just put her as one of your first units in your team, and she will spawn right away, and she will generate a lot of of deployment resource, which will help you gather units faster on the field to hit more the raid. She's kind of weird unit because you can't heal her, and she damages herself over time. You will see the skill consumes 50% of her max HP, of her HP, not max HP. So she will end up dying at some point, most likely, but by the time she dies, she will have provided you with so much deployment resource, and her buff she brings as long as she's on the field is really good, so it's really worth it to have her on the field right away. And she also has this ultimate, which I guess it's something, it's not really the most important part, but in PvP this also makes her a great unit because this little robot, machine god, daddy, it's oh my god, I could not have said that, it could be bad for me. Anyway, this machine is a really good defender. It takes a good amount of beating. It's not that easy to kill, and it does a really big AoE that push enemies, so in PvP it's really strong, to be honest. And yeah, as I said, as long as one unit that we'll talk about later isn't here on global, she will definitely be strong. And she definitely has a place in PvE, so would recommend also pulling for her, just like young Harim. And then for the 4th unit, it's A.Yuna. I think Yuna is the 3rd banner on the Awaken banner. I think there is Yuna before. Yeah, I think Yumina comes before, but Awaken Yuna will come pretty soon. And she's a really good unit, both PvP and PvE. She's mostly PvP, not gonna lie, but PvE she has usage mostly in a content that probably isn't, I didn't check, but it's probably not there in global yet. It's shadow palaces. It's kind of a high-end content with really hard fights, and Yuna has a really strong passive that burns the enemy HP as long as she's near them. And she's a striker, so she goes to the front, obviously. So it's really strong to have. And yeah, we can see decrease HP by 2% every second for herself and surrounding enemies. And she recovers herself with 3 HP. So she basically heals herself by 1%, but she also burns the enemy for 2%. And that's the most important part, because it doesn't work against bosses and ships. So in PvE you don't really use her against raid boss, but against Shadow Palace, as I showed before, it's not really bosses, it's a lot of units. And so it's really strong to have this burn because it helps killing them faster. And she has really good damage on both special skill and her ultimate. She even aids on both of her skills, so it's really strong. And she has a summon called Riley, which, as long as the bird is alive, it's a phoenix. We don't even see it, it's not on the screen. Didn't even notice that. It's a really strong unit, because Riley brings a lot of buff for Yuna, and as long as Riley is alive, Yuna is basically unkillable in PvE. And for the third unit, on the list, it's not a PvP unit, I would say. I have it, so I can be lost. It's Edel Meitner. As I said, it's not really a good PvP unit. Edel is mostly known for being a really good unit in PvE because of her ability to summon monster every time she kills an enemy, and she does extra damage on corrupted objects, so basically every enemy in story mode or normal stages, there is a lot of corrupted objects. And soldier. She can have a usage in PvP, but you rarely see teams full of corrupted objects and soldiers. The second unit on this list is Nanahara Chifuyu. I think a lot of you have probably already have her, because right now she's probably the only defense break option you have in the game. And defense bulk is really... it's kinda like in old gacha games. Defense bulk is really strong. Even though defense bulk in CounterSide is really weak, it's only 10%. It's still a really strong debuff, because 10% extra damage basically on your units is really strong, especially on bosses. Because with attack speed on her, you can really get that. It's after every second basic attack, so every third attack she will basically deal the defense break. So the more she will do normal attack, the more defense break she will put up. So it's really strong to have a defense break in PvE, but she's also a pretty good unit in PvP. She won't be that incredible, but she will still have usage, and she can make you... where is it? Is it here? Just skill. Oh yeah, the defense break is more here. Oh yeah, it's this skill. This skill can also seals target skill, which seals is kinda like silence. You can't use your skills, and it's when you deploy her, it's the first attack she will do. So you can really stop an enemy team from doing their things right away by using it, and it's for 5 seconds, so it's pretty strong. Her ultimate increase even more attack speed, which makes her able to defense break more, and it grants her immunity to its stun or from special and lower skills. So it means that she won't get pushed more easily, and she won't get its stun pretty much. That's what it means. So yeah, definitely a strong unit. I use her in most of my PvE team, whether it's raid or any hard PvE content, like dives or anything. And I use her very often in Gauntlet as well. Right now the season resetted, so I'm in low rank, but you can see I use her in some of my team. And I use her sometimes in rank battle, RTA, pretty much. And so now, before going for the first unit that I think is the unit you should do the most invest on for the future, I will go for some units that I think are really good to invest, but you might not want to invest too much in them. Kailwong is really strong in the beginning of the game, and he'll stay strong for quite some time, but after a while he will kinda fall off, I would say, because his skill... The problem with Kailwong is that his special skills, basically, outside of the stun is really great. It doesn't do much. The Bulwark dies really quickly, and the active expansion isn't that great of a buff, to be honest. It takes a while to stack those, to be honest. And even if you have an attack speed and his exclusive equipment gives him attack speed, it still takes a while to get this. On his basic attack does quite a lot, but it's the base animation for this basic attack is really slow, which means that even with high attack speed, you still hit really slowly your enemy. So outside of his ultimate, which is really good for setup, because you get all the units in the back row of the enemy in the front by basically dragging them all into one place, which means that if you pair him with good AoE unit, this ultimate can be really strong. But as I said, Kalwong is probably not going to be... He's going to be good, but he isn't going to be really strong for a while. And it will also depend on which unit is banned in PvP if you want to use him. But in PvE, he's still alright. And another honorable mention I want to say is Nayubin, Awakened Nayubin. Because when he first appeared, unit like Sigma, Young Harim, all those kind of things were really strong. When he came up, he basically put down all those units by countering barrier and tower unit at the same time. What he does is basically he drain barrier HP away, and he drain also tower units HP away. So that's why, since Nayubin exists, if Nayubin isn't banned in high PvP level, you will see a lot of tower units. But when Nayubin is here, you'll see that there isn't a lot of tower unit used. Unit like Sigma, who kills herself slowly, will die even faster because of Nayubin passive that also burns away HP. The only reason why Nayubin does this is that for a defender, he doesn't bring a lot of support outside of his attack break for your allies, and he isn't that tanky either, to be honest. He doesn't have a barrier for himself, he doesn't have any way of healing himself, he doesn't have any defense buff or anything, so for a defender, he kinda dies too quickly. So, and plus, I would say that him being a defender is actually a nerf, because that means Ranger unit gets an advantage buff against him. Whereas if he was a striker, for example, he would be way stronger in my opinion. But I think that's why he's still an honorable mention, because of his passive that will deal with all tower unit and high HP barrier units. And I think that's it for the quick honorable mention. I think now we'll talk about a unit that's, if you know about the game, probably you already know why I want to talk about this unit as the best one. It's... oh, he doesn't have a gear right now. Xiao Lin. So Xiao Lin is a really strong unit for two reasons. One of the first reason is basically she does really good damage. Like, you can't tell me Xiao Lin doesn't do good damage. In red, she destroys enemy really quickly. She might have a slow attack speed, so that's for sure, but she has really good damage on every hit, and she has something like Esterosa. She has a rearm version of her, and Xiao Lin is kinda special because she has two rearm. So I don't want people to invest into one Xiao Lin, but into two. That's kinda hard to say, but there is two Xiao Lin in the game. There is one tower version of Xiao Lin, and there is one sniper version of Xiao Lin, and both are good. The tower version of Xiao Lin is mainly for PvP, and it's really strong in PvP. If you've ever watched some RTA of player on Korea server or CA server, you will probably see a lot of Xiao Lin as their tower form. And in PvE, she's already a sniper, but rearm sniper version is even better than the normal version. So, like Esterosa, obviously she has a leader skill, and this time the leader skill is also... I don't really know why it's called leader skill, to be honest. It's because it's not really something like leader skill would imply something that buff your teams or something like that. Like, it's only buff the units, so I don't know why it's called leader skill. But the leader skill makes her drone attack faster, and you will see that in both her versions she has drones with her. In the sniper version it's small drones like this, and in her tower version she has a big drone that follow her around. You can see the image in the picture here. And in this form, she has really good damage for red, I would say. I think for really a good level red, you would want Xiao Lin as a DPS. Because she stays at the back, since she's a sniper. So she will take less of the boss hits. She has really good damage. Her kit is very simple, to be honest. It's damage, 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 and damage, and that's why it's really good, to be honest. It's even have a stun here, but when you use her against bosses, it's not really important. But yeah, the sniper version has a really good amount of damage. The tower version probably a bit less of damage, but it has a lot more of, what may I say, support ability, I guess you can say, because it has a really big range for a tower, because you need to understand that tower don't move, and Xiao Lin as a tower won't move as well. So that's why she has such a great range, and this skill is really annoying because when she uses it, she fires all the Falcon, which is this really little drone here, which does a lot of damage, decrease attack speed of the enemy, but the drone also at the same time attacks. So it's basically a drone is a mech that follows around, and it does damage as well when Xiao Lin attack. So it's basically 2 units attacking you. And in the ultimate didn't really change for the tower version, but it's mainly here, and you can see that for a tower unit, Xiao Lin isn't really annoyed by Nayubin, for example, because she has a barrier and she's a tower unit, so you would think that Nayubin is really strong against her, but you can see that here, for example, when her barrier is destroyed, she gets skills 8 plus 50%, which is huge, and that means that her skills will be used really quickly, and this skill, when a barrier is destroyed, you basically don't even see the animation, to be honest. Like, you just get hit and killed and you don't even know why. So I guess that's it for the unit I wanted to talk about. This video is quite long, to be honest. I will probably do a lot of edit on this, but yeah, that's it. I hope you understand that those units are really good and that you made you want to pull for them in the future, or save at least, because some of them aren't yet on the game. I can understand that, and some of them are really great investment. You can see that Xiao Lin I still use, Esterosa I use, Edel I use, even units that I mentioned in honorable mention, Kailung, Liumi, Nayubin, Chifuyu. Those units are really great, and I guess that's it for today's video. So I hope you liked it, and we'll see us next time on another video. Bye.